Hello, everybody. If it's Wednesday, it's Warhammer, and that must mean it's time for another episode of Warhammer Weekly. Not joining me today is my co-host Tom, because he's bad at planning and scheduling, but that's okay. We don't need him anyways. I've replaced him with a Word document. So there you go. So it was a difficult search, but after a long and exhaustive search, I managed to find an acceptable replacement. Also joining me this week is Mr. Steve Foote. Welcome back to the show, buddy. It's good to have you back.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it's good to be here, Vince. Thank you.
Absolutely. Steve and I are going to be talking about Rise of Empires. We're going to be talking about narrative campaigns, sort of some of the things he experienced, some of the fun stories from it, narrative campaigning in general, and sort of throw out some ideas of where Steve wants to go and what he saw as opportunities, etc. So that's what we'll get to. But first up, we're gonna jump into some news. And I don't know if you heard, Steve. Have you heard about this? There's some fish elves coming.
Some fish elves, yes.
Yeah. Like, I'm not sure. Maybe you didn't notice.
Yes, I got a smell of them a little while ago. And yeah, I mean, I think for me, it's really interesting to see the kind of feedback that we've had from them. I mean, this is, after Caradron Overlords, which were kind of all new.
Yep.
This is another all new army. I think for me, it's really cool. The aesthetic I really like. I think personally, some of the first photography we saw was quite bright, and some of the paint schemes have been quite bright. I know that's a natural thing to try and do because these are sea creatures, and we all know how bright and colourful they can be. I think seeing some of the darker and alternative schemes and the darker photos are actually making them a bit more sinister, and I think they are more sinister. I don't think.
Well, speaking of bright pictures, let's look at a big family shot, shall we? This just came out, so let's take a look at this. We can look at it together while we're talking.
Yep.
Here we go.
Yeah.
They're like, this is we got a nice group shot here.
Yeah, small's at the front, tall's at the back.
Absolutely. So let's zoom in here because there's a couple things I want to focus in on. Obviously we've got our character dudes up front here.
Yeah.
Here we got one here, we got a guy here, we got our little fish caster here. Mr. Bell Ringer, got a big hooky stick guy and a fish caster. Can I talk about how awesome this dude looks?
Yeah.
Like this guy. I mean, seriously. Tell me this dude doesn't look amazing.
I think for me, it's this sort of, the new sculpts that we're getting that are just, how would you even draw it, let alone sculpt it? It's just those tentacle tails all swinging round. It's just, I think for me, it's that taking that sort of delicateness, because actually fish are generally quite delicate.
Yep.
And being able to capture that and to keep that fluid effect, like they're swimming. I know, they're swimming in the air, but for goodness sake, this is Age of Sigmar. I don't think we really have a problem with anything mad.
Yeah, can we touch on that for just a second? I want to talk about that because this is the funniest argument to me in the world, right? Like, this has come up. I've seen this. I'm sure you have too.
Yeah.
Of like, they're sea people. Why are they on land swimming or whatever? So you and I were kind of just offhandedly having a conversation about a couple things, and one of them that came up was Magic right before the show, Magic the Gathering.
Yeah.
So if you played Magic in the very early days, like back in the 90s, one of the core staples of blue was merfolk, right? There was like merfolk were one of the races.
Yeah.
And then somewhere around the 2000s, they got rid of merfolk. They like jettisoned merfolk because they felt like it was silly that merfolk would be who are clearly, have tails and are fishy people, they're mermaid merfolk, right? Would be up on land attacking and whatever. And so they got rid of them, and everybody complained, like, because people love merfolk, right? And we're like, we don't care about that. We just want sweet merfolk. And eventually they brought them back because duh. And I'm like, in the world of Magic, in the world where we put our characters on lava, like, how many people do you see do their bases as exposed lava?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not sure if people know how lava actually works, but if you are in any proximity to lava, you will catch on fire. It's very hot. Like, I just love how we have these like strange suspensions of disbelief that'll go one way but not another. So I'm cool with it. Yeah, you can say it's magic. They make the air heavy enough that they can fly through it. I'm like, yep, okay, great, cool. That's, you told me it was magic. You had me at magic. I'm good.
Yeah. And I think, they've got, these models have got standard basing because that's what they do for their range, and that's
Right.
consistent. And it's also, we have to make sure these bases are achievable. But some people are going to do some crazy resin stuff with these, and they're going to be riding on waves, or they're going to be
man,
at the tide's edge, the surf's edge. And that's all cool too. I think, again, with all these things, they just spark and inspire more ideas. So yeah, no problem at all.
I completely agree. And what's awesome about so many of these models is that you basically have, like, especially the actual flying ones, like with these turtles and the eels. And then I don't think I'd really ever noticed these guys back here before. The double riders, right back here on like sort of the bigger sharky-like monsters. I mean, I'd seen them, but I hadn't really kind of registered that they were that much bigger than the eels or whatever. Like, look at how much base you have basically with nothing on it, right? Yeah. So I agree completely. You're just going to see like coastlines and broken ships, and oh man, I can't wait to see the basing schemes that people do with this stuff. I think it's going to be amazing. That wave caster, the Eidolon or whatever, who's not in this picture, but like that guy is going to be another one that people just go nuts with. So
yeah. I'm just waiting to see those great lineups where you're going to have the Overlord ships alongside those giant turtles, the Leviatons, I think they're called.
Yeah,
ship to turtle action. It's just going to be fab. I mean, I think that's what Age of Sigmar is, isn't it? It's just like, we can have ships in the sea, or you can be flying and fighting each other in midair. Yeah, we'll have that.
Yeah, exactly. I want it to be like, I want everybody to have the type of fantasy in this world that they want. That is to say, their brand of army. We have lots of great choices for everything. For very traditional armies, I want the gamut. You know what I mean? From like very traditional forces to like crazy otherworldly, just unbelievable things. Like, that's what the Mortal Realms promises, and this is like, just like with the KO, even though this isn't an army that I think I'm going to collect, although I might pick up one of these turtles to paint because, like, honestly, these turtles look pretty hoss. Whoever the studio painter is that did this one, I don't know who it is, but like this one right here, the red one. Yeah. Aces, man. Like, whoever did this one, you did a good job. Well done. So I'll have to see who actually did this one, but like, I love that they exist, you know what I mean, regardless of me wanting to play them. So I'm also interested to see what happens when we get these little ship kits. I'm excited about this being available.
Oh yeah,
the little ship terrain.
Yeah, and there's lots of sort of people talking about the coral work. That's obviously some of it I believe comes from the 40k Death World.
Oh yeah. The Deathwold Forest or whatever. Yeah.
I think for me, there's all sorts of opportunities there. But yeah, no, let's have some tables that are under the sea. I mean, for goodness sakes, we could easily have a death army fighting on the seabed.
Oh yeah, totally.
against these guys. How cool would that be?
Yes, 100%. Like, the skeletons don't care. I've seen Pirates of the Caribbean. I know how this goes. They just walk along the seafloor, man. Heck yeah, dude.
Feel good, free guild guys with diving helmets on. Muskets might be trickier, but
sure.
I think, but I think for me, I always look for those opportunities, and this is just opens a huge door. And I think what we haven't seen is all the rules yet. We're obviously getting some hinted at,
right?
But any rules that kind of bring this idea to life of what they're doing, why are they here now? I think we're getting to see those kind of bits of information, and I think that's just just so much wiggle room. I mean, just imagine these guys crashing over the walls of one of the more Firestone style cities. So you've got And okay, yes, they are order, but we are learning that order doesn't mean good. And people have their own agendas and their own reasons for things.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. Yes. I want to it's again, order is really the big tent party, right? Like if you're, as I've said, if you're breathing and you hate chaos, you're in. That's kind of the rule.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We welcome
All right.
all.
Exactly. Yeah. Look, chaos is a big problem. It's not time to get picky. Okay.
Yeah.
Like we gotta get this going, man. All right. So along the same lines, let's take a look at this week's rumor engine, because I feel like this week's rumor engine is a trick.
Oh.
I feel like they were tricking us. So that is very big. I don't want that big. Hold on. There we go. Okay. I was very zoomed in image, even much more zoomed in. All right. So let's take a look at the rumor engine for this week. There we go. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So this obviously looks like it could belong to the Deepkin, right?
Yeah.
I think it's a misdirect. This is so zoomed in that you can see the print lines.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So like this is an unbelievably small space. I think this is a trick that they're throwing us off, and that this is actually something else completely. Now I have no idea what it is, because it does kind of look like a little wave, but I think I do not think it's in the end a Deepkin thing. I think they just threw it out there to be like, oh, you'll assume it's Deepkin, and then we'll show you what it really is, and it'll blow your minds.
And it probably, if we're looking at, we're looking at a good 3D print here.
Yeah,
it's a good one, but for being this sort of this close, Blade Runner style, central pullback. Yes. Give me a print right there. But I mean, I think if we're seeing that at this stage, this is still a way off. If this isn't something like you say, I think they've got the confidence now to play all sorts of games with us. Yep. Even the one you showed from the other week, which was the door hatch, which is off the roof of the new terrain kits in Kill Team, was it?
Yeah, in Kill Team. Yeah, the new terrain with Kill Team. Yeah,
which looks quite cool.
It does. I'm excited for that stuff. I'm not gonna lie. I can't wait to buy that terrain and hack it to pieces for my basing schemes.
Yeah, no, it's all good. It's all good. More terrain is good for me.
Although, as a quick aside to that, so I picked up they're right behind me. I picked these up.
Okay.
Yeah. I think that I guess they switched who was doing this, whatever supplier, because I know the terrain is not made by this in the normal place where they make the models. Like it's different. It's a different supplier, I believe. And this is so for people who haven't gotten this kit yet, this Ruin set, this is the heaviest, most solid plastic I have ever seen in a terrain kit. This is unbelievable. Cutting this apart as I did for a few bases was just I had to get out the heavy equipment to chisel this stuff apart. It's a really solid kit. So just as a word of warning, if you're like me and you want to hack these buildings up, be warned. Although this kit is awesome. I love the little treasure chests and the gates.
Yeah, I've not seen it close up. It's something on my to get.
Yeah, it's really nice. These, as you can see, the walls are really nice and detailed in there. Yeah. They have this nice floor grate, which is cool. Yeah. Great for this is really solid for dioramas and stuff. This reminds me of a Max did a double Skaven gutter runner little diorama one year for Golden Demon that was super cool, and he custom made a thing like this. But it's got this, and then on this piece you've got the other little ruins. Yeah. You've got a little treasure chest. Yeah, it's awesome.
No, nice.
So I'm hoping that the ships and those Kill Team ruins will be sort of the same material and the same quality, because those are really nice.
I was at Blood and Glory, and when GW were doing a couple of the seminars and sort of chatting with folks, on Saturday was a bit more of a seminar, just a sort of meet and greet rather than the usual presentation format.
Right.
And I got to put my hand up and say, it would be great to get some of the similar style kits like this Mechanicus Sector stuff that is just so cleverly thought through that this aligns with that, and if you take two of those and put those there and that on top, the fact that what was all the hoses just slot straight into the furnace.
It's so modular. That whole kit is amazing because it's completely modular. You can just assemble it any way you want, right? Yeah.
I don't know, they've got proportions of the golden circle or something weird mathematical pies beyond my capability, but and I said, and they said yes, they definitely got plans for that for AOS, so that had the ability for us to have those kits. And I think what the Azurite ruins are a good step.
Right.
They're not what we're hoping for yet, but that like I said, I'll never say no to terrain kits.
Sure. Or as I call them, soon to be basing kits. All right, so like those ruins are absolutely, like, next big monster I do is going to be standing on top of those ruins on a big base. Like, just bank on it now. All right, let's see, what else have we got? Obviously we got the Shadespire warbands confirmed this last week for 4/14. So the new Khorne and the new Stormcast. We got the actual Blood Warriors and the like Hunter, what do I call them? Vanguard people. There you go. I couldn't think of their dumb name. Who I predict are going to be like, my prediction is we're going to see the inverse. Like, they're going to be pretty good in Shadespire. They're going to be as good in Shadespire as they are not as good in normal.
Oh, okay. The inverse, right? Okay.
Like, yeah, it'll be inverted. That's just my prediction based on nothing. I haven't seen any sort of rules. Yeah. I just get the distinct feeling that their playstyle will suit that game very well if they translate them in any way faithfully, but time will tell. Yet again, we're going to get a Flesh Hound that isn't the Flesh Hound plastic box we've all wanted. Like, just, you're 2 out of 5. Tail steal the one from Corkuskull and the one from the Shadespire crew. Give me 3 more, and I'm good to go. We're this close, guys. We're this close.
Just the three in a box top up set. Is that what you're saying?
Right, exactly. Just come on. Like, I just need to see that kit. I cannot believe that wouldn't sell. Everybody, those new plastic Flesh Hounds are great. I love Flesh Hounds. I think they're a hidden gem in AOS in general. I think people would buy the heck out of plastic Flesh Hound kits, and you've taken 2 swings at this model. Just come on. I'm just saying. All right. Let's see what else we got. So we talked about the Deepkin. I wanted to give a shout out because there is now being assembled a very nice like AOS Shorts put together a tournament calendar. And Dan is sort of posting that and hosting that, and I'll throw the link after the show. I think that's awesome. We need more awareness of events, and I think that this is a very good start because there's so many different events going on. My goodness. The tournament scene is exploding. People running 1 days, 2 days, all over the place. I know here in the US, it's almost impossible to keep track of. And it's hard for people to know what's going on, maybe like outside their local scene, but in an area they would drive to for a weekend event, right? There could be an awesome event going on like 2 hours away from you, and you might not even know about it. I wanted to highlight 2 in particular right now. First off, I wanted to give a shout out to Domus for the Midwest Meltdown on July 21st and 22nd in Peoria, Illinois. He posted it up, and I believe he sold it out in 3 hours. So it is currently sold out. I don't know if Domus is doing a wait list or not, but holy Moses, that's awesome. Yeah. I mean, that right there shows the appetite. And obviously Domus is a complete hobby hero. He's the one who prepped so much of the awesome terrain that was used at Adepticon. And when I say so much, I mean like a Herculean task level of terrain he put together and prepped and painted. So I'm very excited. I'm happy to see that tournament's there. I think that's only going to continue to grow. The other one I wanted to shout out was the Brawl, which is a 2K event in Buffalo, New York. I'll throw the links for both of them down below so people can go check them out. Like I said, I don't know if Domus is going to do a wait list or whatnot, but even so, I would still give it a watch, give it a follow. Oftentimes with events, especially when they sell out that quickly, later on a couple spots do open up, so it's worth following along if you're going to be in the area. All right, and that's basically the news. There's not a whole lot of news this week, because obviously we are all waiting in anticipation for these Deepkin. Like, let's be honest. Okay, it is what we are all at the edge of a storm. A hurricane is building here on the sea, so we're all just waiting for it to roll in and bring with it a tide of many fish elves.
And we know that it's going to be multi-week release, so
yes,
it's going to be a little bit.
Yep. Yeah,
So,
I think that the way I've heard it spilled out is 414 is obviously the first pre-release, but then it'll be books and like one of the kits and whatever, books and cards and dice and all that, and then like one of the kits, main kits, and then I think I have to wait till week 3 to get my turtle, which is probably better. I should wait anyways, so that's okay. I'll get to actually get the book, really look over the rules, and then I'll not that I would care about that for the turtle. I just want to paint the turtle. But the turtle could be an ally for my daughter, so I'm good with it. And there you go. That's how I look at it. Like, I'm not just buying a turtle because I want to paint it. Obviously, it's an ally for my existing army. That's a smart investment. No questions there. All right. So let's talk about a little pick of the week. So, Steve, what would you like to share with the viewers? What blog or podcast or video or anything like that? What would you like to share with everybody?
Well, just a shout out really to a new website that's only just got a page up at the moment, but there will be more to come. It's Gary Marshall's Baby Coming to Life. And if people don't know who that is, it's Gary Isimo off Twitter. His ventures into terrain making, 3D printing has taken off, and that's turned into trophy building. He's been being really cool and printing some stuff for me that's been everything from a custom large chariot to take my Sobek character to he printed the Black Pyramid, which was great because that was shared from Neo. So again, just and there's a couple more pieces I'm going to be sharing soon. So yeah, I think for me, I've spoken to Gary. I mean, ideally, if I could have a plug and play 3D printer, I would have one tomorrow. But the £4,000 to £6,000 worth of kit that it needs to be plug and play, don't have.
Right, sure.
And so, but yeah, so I think for me, what I like about Gary's stuff, it's got its own vibe. It's not just me too.
Yep.
And he's definitely taken the idea that this is big. This is big. So the pieces are big.
Oh, yeah.
Is big.
So for anybody who was at Adepticon, Table 1 was his terrain, his stuff that he had printed out. And I thought it looked awesome. So just for those who are watching who happen to be there, that Table 1 that was set aside, that was like the sort of desert table, that was his stuff.
Yeah. So that's my shout out, and lots more exciting things to come. So yeah, cool.
Awesome. Very good. I know, I'm so glad that people like Gary exist and are doing this good work so I can just purchase it, because like it would need to be the Star Trek replicator for me to do it myself. Yeah. Right? Like I would need to be able to just tell it, like, I want this thing, and it would have to just boop, pop it out, and I'd be like, great, okay, thanks. If it's any amount of more effort or ingenuity needed, it's too complicated for me. So
yeah, I just want to be able to scan in some wibbly wobbly sketches.
Right, exactly.
It comes out proportionally correct and symmetrical. Right, and that'll be good to go.
There you go. Yeah. So all we need is a Star Trek computer level AI, and we're good to go. All right. Yeah. So Piece of cake. Until then, we've got Gary. So there you go. All right, that'll bridge the gap. That's good. My shout out is somewhat of self-promotion, but it's more of awareness type of thing. So every other Saturday, I host a hobby cheating hangout on the Hobby Hangout YouTube channel. So not on mine, not where you're watching this right now, but on the Hobby Hangout channel. The Hobby Hangout is a group run by Caleb Wissenbeck and Kat Jackson, Caleb and Kat, as well as Liz Hunt and some other people who all participate in it. And they obviously built their community around hanging out and painting together. It is a great community full of awesome people who are extremely supportive and have, are always there ready to answer questions. And the reason I'm directing you to it is not just to watch my videos. If you want to watch my videos, you're here, you know about that. You can go see more of me on that other channel. Yay, I guess. But the real reason I want to direct you over there is because Caleb, who is just a gunslinger with an airbrush and hosts all sorts of like airbrush tutorials. People are often asking me about airbrush tutorials, and I don't do a huge amount of them because like they're kind of annoying to film. But at any rate, he does a ton of them. And so if you're interested in upping your game with your airbrush, he has a bunch of awesome tutorials all on that channel. They're all there. Just, go check them out. And he really is one of the best. He hosts a lot of like he does 2-day teaching events for his airbrush all over the country, all over the world. And they are very worthwhile. If you ever got a chance to take one of those classes, I would say do it. But until then, if you don't, you can do the next best thing, which is watch those tutorials on his channel. So I'll link that down below. I'll link the Hobby Hangout stuff to that playlist so you can see all the different vids over there. So there you go. Cool. All right. So speaking of some hobby-oriented stuff, what have you been working on, man? What's on your table, Steve?
So finishing up the Scryer for now. And that's been a bit of a cheeky one because actually I've really enjoyed my allies from Eshin and the fun that they had. So I've been kit bashing together some gutter runners. They add another dimension to the game and work well for skirmish games, which I play a few of. I'll let you know now that the daft April's Fools that I did of a giant doom wheel being propelled by a Hell Pit Abomination is in the post to me now, in the fact that Ian at Fenris has cut me from my designs some MDF parts so I can build that. So that will be a centerpiece. I have no idea how I'm going to run it, but I'm very excited for that to turn up. Just finished painting the A-bomb, but again, the community of Twitter were really good in getting me some cannon parts because I needed a couple of cannons. So again, you just put the word out, and people are so cool and saying, "Yeah, I'll have a rummage. Is this any good?" Chuck them a few bucks for postage or a few bucks extra, and it's just like, compared to trying to sort it out or eBay whole broken bits of kit that you never know what you get. So yeah, as always, and if people shout out, I try and do the same because it's such a great resource because those cannons you need the warpstone bit as well. Right. And that's actually part of the catapult. Yep. So it's not as if, if you've made the catapult, I'll have what's left. No, I need the other bit as well. So it's not just an easy swap out of spares. So that's me for now. I solved that problem by one of my kits is just literally the the scrap together triangle, of the base with a rat ogre with a giant lightning cannon on his hand pointing. And I was like, there you go, done. Yeah. Solved it. The beauty of Skaven and Scryer is or Molder. So yeah, if it's not warpstone and science, it can be bioengineered to do what else you need. As we have seen, the alliance of Molder and Skaven and Scryer produces wonderful results, as we saw in the Storm Fiends.
I would love it if we, like, when eventually we get some kind of Skaven focused thing somewhere down the line. Like, the rats will get attention sometime, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And I would love it if whenever the rats get attention, it's not entirely clan focused, but more about just like, I would love it if it was plan focused. What I mean by that is like, so the rats and the council are known for their schemes, right? Like, that's the thing. It's all about the schemes with the Council of 13. I think it would be an awesome way to orient the Skaven book of, instead of doing like the individual clans. Okay. Because like you mentioned, you've been having fun mixing in your Eshin. And like Eshin would famously sell its mercenaries to anybody, right? Like, they were the high paid assassins who would go out for the other clans and so on and so forth. Like, the Verminous clans are for sale, right? That's how they made their money and became so wealthy, was selling clan rats and storm vermin elites to go guard other clans' stuff, right?
Yeah.
So just like we did with the Legion of Nagash, where it's not really like we didn't pay attention to the sub factions, but instead we had it based around the leaders.
Yeah.
I would love it if in the Skaven book we had it based around like various schemes that the Council of 13 was executing, and then like those schemes, like one is trying, I think back to like the end times where there was multiple competing schemes. Like, Thankful had an idea, Pestilence was trying to do a thing, and somebody was shooting a rocket at the moon, right? Like, they were all doing different stuff. And so it could be the same thing where it's like one is trying something very sneaky, or like this, one is trying to get in and topple an empire, one is trying a mad science creation, like, and there could be mix and matches of the various elements, right? So I think that would be a cool way to do it. I don't know if we'd ever see anything like that, but that's just my hope. So.
Yeah, no, me too. I think anything that makes, I'm not going to say playable, because it's all playable and depends how you approach, but anything that makes for lots of people to be encouraged to do, you know, we call it mixed Skaven, if you like.
Yeah, sure.
With different leanings, with different leaders, you know, different clan abilities, if that's the main clan, you know, even with, you know, I'd love it that you maybe you started off with an amount of money, and if you don't pay Eshin enough, maybe their bravery goes down because they're going to say, no, we don't get paid enough for this stuff, and, you know, and bail, and that's a gamble. And I think for me, that's the bit I love about the Skaven, is that whole gamble that they'll either they'll roll sixes and blow the whole world up, or they'll roll a 1 and then blow themselves up.
Blow themselves up. Yeah, exactly. Just an answer a question that was in the comments real quick. No, the Skaven are still around. It's still very much part of the world. There's fun lists. Both Skyr and Pestilence were in GHB 2017 with their own allegiance abilities. They just haven't had like a full dedicated book release since pre the original GHB with the Pestilence book. So, you know, but the time will come eventually. You know, Skaven are such a major, unique part of the world. They will eventually have their own book. I'm not worried. I don't need it anytime soon. I'm good.
And they've got some interesting lore going on anyway, because they can traverse the realms through the Norholes.
Yep.
So that's an interesting thing. They're there for good. You know, they exist there at that. How do they make that happen? I want to understand that. What does that whole...
Yeah, they're like, they show up all over the place as antagonists in like every story too. I was reading a snippet of fluff from the Deepkin, and it talked about how like one of the underwater cities was being assaulted by like Skaven who had like killed and stolen a big whale and just like infested him and used him as a ship, and we're like sailing this dead whale down to attack him. And I was listening, and I was like, that is the dedication of Skaven, that they are willing to go like, that they are willing to like Jonah and the whale themselves to get down there and attack that city. Like, you think you're safe underwater? You're never safe from me. Never.
So some engineers going, I've got this great idea. And everyone else is going, yeah, right. You carry on.
That's what I'm talking about, man. That's crazy plans that I want to see.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good stuff. All right. So for myself, for my hobby time, what I've been working on is my snakes. So I've got like 3 of them to various stages. I have 2 more. I've got 5 of them all in various stages. That's one that's not very done. This one's that's mostly done. So they're moving along. I can't decide. Like, I made them all with the actual elf faces, not the except for the leader. I kept the leader with the like Gorgon mask.
Yeah.
This one.
Yeah.
Because in the end, I like the elf faces more. I just think they look better. I don't know, but even though I think it's the elf faces are supposed to go on the bow girls, but whatever. I think like it's pretty clear this isn't a bow girl. I don't think switching the head really disturbs the overall WYSIWYG of the thing. I think the giant two-handed spear is hopefully the giveaway. Exactly. But yeah, these are really good kits. I'm super impressed by these. It actually went together like way easier than I was expecting. So they're fun. First 5 of 20 down. I'll tell you, over the weekend I got my first game in with my daughters. And that was a lot of fun. Oh my god. It's everything I dreamed it would be. It was unbelievable. It was just an orgy of bloodshed and violence and murder. I had at the end of the game, I had killed so much stuff and I had 3 figs left on the table. And I was like, this has been a wonderfully successful game. We have honored Cain well today. Brilliant. That is for sure. Oh my god. So yeah, I can't wait to play more of it. So there you go.
Yeah. No, I think for me it's whenever I play a game, whether it's match play or whether it's narrative or open or role playing, if those models combined with those rules bring to life what I see as the character, as I see as the purpose, as I see as the imagination, because ultimately, if it comes down to statistics and movement, go and play chess, because that is, that's got it's got very fixed levels. So for me, it's anything that can capture that. And that's where you can find armies some people like and some people don't like. It's just because it doesn't suit how they want to play it or how they see that being played, and that's so cool for the hobby.
I agree. That's why I like I like armies having very different feels. The sort of highfalutin word for that, I suppose, is verisimilitude, right? When the rules feel like the thing, and the thing feels like it belongs in the world. If you have like an army where their lore is like they're all very magical people and they're the race of the most powerful magicians in the world, and then you put them on the table and they're not very good at magic, and like that just immediately it all falls apart, right? It's that kind of thing. So like but when it all works together, that's how this army felt. Like, yep, these are glass cannon, basically armorless chicks who are just running forward to stab everything in their wake and murder it. And then dying. And I was like, yep, I am definitely getting this feeling. That is what this felt like. So it was great. It very much felt like that. So it's going to be a long time, though, before I have Marathi on the table, because I'm saving her for the last thing I paint.
Okay.
So like, it's going to be, she'll be a reward at the end. Until then, no Marathi. So
the question, I'm sure you probably told people before, but do you build a list and then buy and paint for the list? Or do you buy lots of everything?
Yep.
And worry about the list later?
Yeah, absolutely the case. Yes. I have never even thought of a list when placing an order. Like, I don't even know what I think about lists whenever I have to. So usually the night before I decide to play the game with that army. No, like I just look at the line and I'm like I'll tell you exactly how I did my daughter's order. You ready?
Yeah.
This is how I decided what daughters I wanted to buy. I looked at the stuff that was released in the pictures.
Yeah.
And I said, I love those snakes, so I'm going to get 4 boxes of those. Those harpies look pretty cool. I'm going to get 2 of those. I definitely want some cauldrons, so I'll get a couple of them blood coven boxes. And I know I want a Marathi, so I'll get one of those. And then I'll figure out the rest from here. Like, that seems like a good start. That was how I placed it. Like, seriously, I had no idea how good that was. I hadn't even seen the rules when I put in my order. So
yeah. No, me too. It's what's cool. Again, it's like, how's that going to go on the table? Well, if everything's mobile, then like 40k for me, it's like, but everybody, if these guys appear on the table on some transport, how did these other dudes get here? They need some transport as well, don't they?
Well, they were hanging on the top. Like, if if you've ever seen like a train in some countries where it's just people all over it. But like when you get to the battlefield, it's like, all right, guys, get off. It's too dangerous for you to hang on the outside. You got to walk from here. Look, I don't. And here's the thing: like Tom, my normal and absent co-host, Tom, you will usually build a list, and he at first, and then sort of paint that or buy to that. I don't have a problem with that. To be very clear, like I don't have any issue with that. That's perfectly fine if that's because certain people, and here's his reason for it. And I think this is also legitimate. He, one, wants to make sure he has the right list because he enjoys playing a very fine-tuned list. That gives him psychological utility. So cool. Two, he's got 4 kids. Free time is not exactly in large supply in the Thomas household. So, like, he can't be painting units that he's not going to get regular use out of, right? So I'm completely sympathetic to that. In my opinion, hobby the way you like, but don't hobby the way you feel like you're supposed to. Yeah. That's the only wrong answer, right? If you don't enjoy doing it one way, stop doing it that way. Like it isn't like there's some platonic form of how to do this hobby.
No, so I'm like, so I'll get very in on an army. I'll buy bits, I'll buy some background, I'll probably buy a reference book for some terrain. I will go all in on that. But the compromise is that I don't do that for every army.
Right.
And I'm not chasing competitive meta. I'm not doing any of that. And so for me, it's big on one thing. And I'll spend my hobby money on that. But it is just the way I do it. It's not the way you have to do it. So right. I think for me, again, I don't really go to match play events now. Or if I do, I go along just being narrative and play down the bottom tables or the other people that are there not to compete. So I think and that's fine because the bigger events, there's room for everybody. I mean, I don't think right. So. I think. I think there's lots of ways to, or Dan, the thing is now, I think, as long as you're not trying to be competitive, skirmish is a very valid way of collecting a little bit of something.
Sure. Skirmish and Path to Glory both are great ways to build a force as you get into it. That's completely valid. I know there's a lot of groups that I've seen that are picking up Path to Glory as like both a way for newer people to start with a much lower barrier of entry, but still get something that very much feels like that army, etc. Right. So 100%.
Yeah.
So let's use that to transition into our topic today, shall we?
Almost perfectly.
There you go. Well, I couldn't have planned this segue better. All right, that's professionalism. All right, so let's talk about Rise of Empires. So first off, Steve, what is Rise of Empires? Tell everybody about it.
Okay, so it's a UK narrative event. It was held end of January this year in sunny Ramsgate, which was quite a drive for everybody because it's kind of the bottom right-hand corner of the UK. It's run by Sean and Kai, and it was very much badged as being very narrative, kind of talked about being a campaign weekend, and that's exactly how it turned out. We ended up with about 24 players, I think it was, maybe a few more. And the exciting thing for me is the gameplay started long before we turned up.
Sure.
So we all were given goals and aims for the event.
Right.
And I'll give you some background to the event. So the kind of sandbox that we were given, even though we had battle plans all written, and there were a lot of them for lots of eventualities, but the sandbox was that this border city of Colicanium was basically under siege. There was something not quite right going on, But what we had was all of the alliances were laying siege to the city. The order forces were getting reinforcements coming in, and we were given this beautiful map.
Nice. It's a nice map.
Which,
I dig that.
Which gave us locations, it gave us streets, it gave us real places, real connected places. And that was really cleverly transformed into a 6x4 map. It was a map even. So this was used by each alliance to go up and coordinate their movements, coordinate what territories they'd held and take part of. So it was a kind of sub stage before you actually went and played your games.
Right.
So that was cute. I think the other most important thing for people to get is that the tables have been laid out as if each do a bit of holding magic here. So each row of tables was literally
nice.
So these were all together. So it's like 3 or 4 6x4 tables, and then there was obviously a gap for people and their butts, and then there was the next part of this city.
Oh man, that is awesome.
So you stood at the top of the table, you look through the city gates, you looked at your map and you go, well, there should be the wizard's, oh, there's the wizard's tower. And then I looked at that, looks like the slums, yep, and there's the docks down the bottom. So a first for me ever came to play a game, and I sat down to the player I was going to play, and usually you do the whole, hi, how you doing? Right, we'll read the plan. Sure. Roll off to see you pick sides. And it was like, dude, I need to be on that side because my last game was over there. So I've actually come through here. So I can't be on this side because how have I got past you? And it was like, and he said, yeah, I've come from the slums. We've got to swap sides then. So there was no dice rolling. So
that is the most awesome tournament layout I have ever heard. Like, I love that idea. So if you like kind of stood back, you were literally looking at this overview of the city. That's amazing.
So yeah, literally, the map did that.
yeah.
And you came to, and so I think for me, what that did is that it gave you reason to be going somewhere.
Yeah.
You know, what table edge am I going off? Yeah, actually, who's playing either side of me? Are they allies? Are they the enemy? What's going on here? So I think for me, we had this city. We then had the ability that so even before we started, Sean had set up WhatsApp groups for each alliance. So that meant we could talk about why we were there, what we were bringing, you know, the kind of nuts and bolts of it.
Sure.
But also the ability to kind of role play into it a little bit.
Sure.
I brought my scryer with some Eshen paid assistance. But I had a chat with Sean and kind of said, how much am I going to have to pay my spies to get me into these other chats? And Sean said, don't worry, job done. So when he dropped everyone's name in, of course, usually you just get a telephone number added, telephone number added, telephone number added. It was only actually the order WhatsApp group that spotted I was in the list. The others, I just sat there quietly listening to everything going on. And then I was selling information to other people and other orders. So right from the beginning, I was being able to bring to life what was very much a Skaven thing.
That is amazing.
So yeah, so just quietly sit there and just listen to what's being said. So I think for me that was great. So that was great fun. And then also for me it was, are there any other Skaven players? Because obviously for me, I'm going to make sure that they've got to do them over. There's no way they're going to get more kudos with Council of 13 than me. So anyway, there wasn't in the end. So that kind of took a bit of pressure off.
Nice. Oh, real quick, by the way, we've had a request from the comments for you to talk about the walls around the city, which was apparently 30 to 40 feet of actual walls. If you're a hammer.
Yes. So yeah, exactly, Alexander. So yeah, I mean, and that was it. I mean, Kai and Sean rocked out these huge sections of walls. Bishmeister was really kind to bring along, which was the entrance walls. So we had that. So yeah, no, honestly, it was, and again, it comes down to everything that I'm about playing is we don't place terrain because it's fair. We don't place terrain because it's equal. We place terrain would be there because of either geological reason or a territory reason,
Right.
or that village is by that ford, not a fjord, ford, because obviously people would need to travel through there. So you make reasons, and all of that was decided for us. So I mean, that was fantastic. The train just got set up and left, and it was there for a reason. And the train got destroyed and stayed destroyed. So again,
Yeah.
you know, so I think for me, where you embrace this idea that this the whole game world armies are evolving over the weekend, and I think this is where this definitely fell into the whole idea of it being a campaign weekend as much as anything. It definitely was. I'm very, very ambitious to do it for 24 players. So I think for me, yeah. So I think so again, what I could allow me to do is, so ultimately, luckily we had Archeon along. There's Alexander, who's obviously in the chat. So, you know, I was making sure I was ingratiating him and being as helpful as I possibly could be without actually doing the rotten job that he really wanted me to do. So,
Sure.
so you know, and I'd sort of angled a few things to try and make sure that, you know, I make sure you used me at the right time and all that sort of stuff. So no one trusted me for a minute, which was absolutely fine. So that was great.
Well,
so,
you are Skaven, so if they trusted you, that's being very foolish. Absolutely.
Exactly. And I think the other thing is now that these events are kind of going on, I'd already had a game with Alex Lay earlier in the year, and we'd had a sort of narrative exchange whereby the leader of his overlords had been actually captured by Skaven and been forced Warpstone and was an addict. So in that pre-game, we'd already come to a bit of a negotiation, and I've had some little Warp Spark tokens made. So just little laser cut acrylics, but these are my markers. But the nice thing is, because you've got this little device, I sort of gave him a few that his guy could have. So we'd already started having a few chats of another line about making sure that somewhere along the line we were going to meet up, because I definitely had some Warpstone for it. So again, it's building these little stepping stones, and again, speaking to Sean, and that involved a bit of role play with my character and somebody within the council, which ended up getting somebody got a bit confused and my character lost an eye, but it was fine. We that was okay. But I think what we ended up saying, so are there any stocks of Warpstone in the city, and are there any stocks of explosives, because they would be quite handy? And again, I think this is one of the things that really came across from what, you know, Kai was a lot of role play experience and what Sean were doing. It was never no. You came to them with an idea. It was never no. It was always, well, you're going to need to do this, this, and this.
Right, exactly.
Which might be really hard, but that's okay, because it's a really mad thing I'm trying to do. So I think for me, what that does do is that then says, okay, well, am I going to risk doing those things, or am I going to try something else? And I think that's where the weekend was just so much fun for me, is that I'd arranged to steal some explosives, but I needed to get them under the city. So me and Kai had a pre-game where I was moving those barrels, being chased by some of the city guards. So I think, again, once you start getting this sort of framework of a game, it's not what mission are we going to play. It's, well, we better play this part of the story,
right,
and see what the outcome is.
Well, and the not no, but, you know, the yes, but you've got to do these things or whatever. That's a very classic, you know, great role playing sort of GM rule to live by, right? Which is like, telling someone no in an RPG is the quickest way to just not having fun.
Yeah.
Right. Telling somebody yes, but you've got to do these 3 risky things. That's immediately a recipe for interesting fun. Right. And so I'm glad to see that that tenet, that ideal carried forward. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, and I think there were victory conditions. There were their own personal goals you were looking to do. And I think for me, sometimes they conflicted, in which case I was happy to lose the battle plan conditions, because for me, and I would discuss that openly with the other player,
right?
Because otherwise they'd be playing one game and I'd be playing another. But quite quickly you can just find a way that you go, actually, well, if you definitely want that, and I definitely don't want that, but maybe we'll come to one side. But then always what I would try and do is, well, how can I get some profit out of this? How can I maybe attack them, or just attack them anyway? They've been. So I think for me, for someone that goes, oh no, that's you lied. Yeah. Skaven. So I think for me,
is this your first time in Warhammer? Or I don't know what to tell you, man. Yeah, that's how we roll, man.
But also making sure everyone knew you were available. So we had some currency that Sean had got in, which was gold. No, R gold. Spell it. Sure. Get the pronunciation right. And so I made sure people knew that I had assassins with me, and if at a certain moment they perhaps needed one, they could secure that with a piece of gold. So certain people coming up saying, yeah, no, it's not going so well. Have you got assassin available? And as long as my assassin wasn't in play, because I kind of assumed I didn't have an infinite amount, sure. I'd say, no, 1 or 2 gold to make sure that you'll be the first port of call. And okay, they may not have called them in. And to be fair, no one asked for their money back, but they should have checked the contract because it was non-refundable, of course. So.
Of course, yeah.
So it's those sort of things that you just kind of.
It's a buyer beware situation.
Exactly.
Yeah, for sure.
I wasn't accepting PayPal that weekend.
Right.
So I think for me that was the grapevine, and I think what it allowed people to do was to bring their armies to life. A reason. I mean, some people brought loads of backstory with them. Some people just brought brand new armies, and they got to come to life. And I think for me, it was that combination of there was no kind of magical scoring recipe,
right?
So people didn't come searching to score it. So I think. There were lots of awards and lots of things you could win, but sure. it wasn't about have I scored a 2 or a 3 in base painting or anything like that. It was very much about bring a story, bring it to life, and and I think the other thing as well is that something that when you get a living table like that, the ability for I'm going to go through this realm gate and I'm going to go over there.
Yep.
So it's like, okay, that's fine. And then things would appear on your table and you just ran with it. If they came and smashed you up, then they just smashed you up. You're fighting through this massive city under siege in flames. Of course, weird things are going to happen. You just got to give up on that.
So it reminds me, did you ever play Warhammer Online?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you ever play in Prague, like in battled city of Prague? I think it was like a tier 3 or tier 4 area, but it was like a ruined city in a fight. And it was everything. I loved what you're saying, because it was just chaos. It was just madness in these tight halls of this like urban cityscape as you're running around, and there's just, everybody's just the madness of this city. That's what it sounds like. That sounds totally super sweet. So yes, I love that. But that transitions me. What were some of your, what do you feel were some of the like really big successes? Maybe some specific stories of some funny moments that you saw at the tournament involving you or otherwise, something where you feel like there was a great amount of success.
So I think for me, some of the people that brought stories, the guys had to be super on their ball and see opportunities to weave story in, very much in like a DM's way.
Right.
So Ollie had brought his greenskins, and in the last year's event, he got messed over by this character, he ended up fighting on this big citadel, which was told if he could smash into it, this guy was on ice there and available to be. So suddenly it was like, oh, well, I don't know what the battle plan is, but I'm getting in there. I'm getting this guy off the table because we're going to get payback. And suddenly, so it wasn't on the battle plan that he was in there.
Right.
So it's just having those Neos, those DMs around to come in and say, oh, by the way, or actually. So again, I got to the table where this warp stone was hidden. I had to walk away. Under all the roofs on the buildings lifted off. Under one of the buildings was put a little token that was the warp stone. I had to search the buildings to find it because I didn't get. So again, it's those little things. You just those little snippets. And so many other players had their own stories, about fighting over this one bit of wall. I'd convinced, because I wanted to head south to the slums to find this stuff. I convinced Archeon to send me down there, but he said, "Well, if you're going down there, you've got to blow up this city wall." So it's like, great, okay. Well, I've got the explosives because I've already found those. We had a sewer map, so I played in the sewer. Didn't get it quite to the right spot, but close enough. Blew it up. But of course, it just worked out that there were nobody on the wall at the time. They'd all moved on. But suddenly the players was just stood there, and because the sewer map was somewhere else. So somebody comes over and takes all the wall away and brings it all down. What happened? It's just all caved in. Huge explosion in the sewers under the city. Right. Okay. So I think for me, that's where you just kind of have to. And again, sometimes when you're with those sort of things, there's kind of micro moments. You just try and eke out what you can in your game. Not everybody is going to be the person that snips the wire in the last second. Not everyone's going to do it. You just got to try and find your own bits.
Sure. So Fjordhammer just mentioned a 7 versus 1 battle, all chaos players versus 1 Caradron Overlord player.
Yeah. so that's
a heck of a fight.
And we held out for a long time. I think it, again, it's just the guys were like, yes, as long as we can't overrun massively, overrun a little bit, can't overrun massively. But yeah, guys, if that's what's going to happen, that's what's going to happen. And it's like, yeah, let's do it. And I think all the other players were very happy for that to happen, because it's just like, it's not always, join a nice long line, pick a partner and go and have a fight. It's not it's not how it would be. I mean, another quick story was, so Sean had got the gold in and he'd posted a picture. So we got these little gold coins. And I saw the design and I thought, right, I'm going to order some counterfeit gold. So
okay,
I'm going to get a different design on it.
Right, sure, absolutely.
So I'm not cheating, because I could have bought the same coins off eBay.
Of course, but that's no fun. So yes, you literally got knockoff, intentionally wrong coins to be counterfeit. Yes, but I get it.
As with all things eBay, I turned up on the day. Sean gives me these. I get my counterfeit out, and I'm like, oh man, I'm totally busted. But the last game, and Bloodthirster comes piling in against me and Ollie with his green skins, and the Bloodthirster says, "Who am I going to destroy first?" And so Ollie says, go after the squire. I said, no, I've got money, I'll pay you. And it's like, well, how much are you going to pay me? And I slipped him a few of the bigger coins, because it was all really busy last game. Everyone's chatting.
Sure, yeah, no one's paying attention. Yeah.
So yeah, anyway, so I bid him up to about 12 coins, and kind of like, he took them. And eventually attacked both of us anyway, because corn, which is totally correct. Until he went to see Sean, who to cash him in, and he said, "I'm sorry, these are counterfeit. You can't be using these." And he looked at me and he's like, "And actually, you're going to be fined 12 real coins for trying to use the counterfeit ones." So for me, I call that a result. However,
Saving revenge from the grave.
So, but for me, there's a storyline there now. So I don't know if I'll get to play the guy again. I don't think he's a part-time player, but even there's a storyline there now. There has got to be a bloodthirster out there wanting payback.
Oh, absolutely, man. That guy is pissed. That's amazing. Like, you bought off a bloodthirster with fake money.
Really gold, yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God, that's so good. So holy Moses.
I think for me, things like we all had a journal which allowed us to write in notes about not just who won or who lost, what happened, did you set up a garrison. I think for me it was very much encouraging you to build your stories,
right,
and also to come away with stories. I mean, one of the things I'm using my Games Workshop Age of Sigmar journal for is literally to write out the narrative of the games, who was the winner, who's the loser,
right,
notes, who's getting good influence within the clan, who's not getting, who's going down. So I think for me that's definitely what it came away. And I think for me, the group of people that went all totally got the idea that we're just part of a big story here, and we've only got our little pieces to play. Everybody was trying to play big, but only so many can do that. So for me, it was just so much fun from before the game, and now after the game, I've got other people I've played. And again, I think just another example. So I bumped into another Iron Jaws player and tried to bribe him with some warp sparks this time. And he was kind of keen. And I said, look, we'll just sort of pass ways because I don't really need to fight you. It was skirmish, and I was just going to get battered. And he said, well, I'll give you a couple of these. And again, these were out of the ones that I rolled for that game. So, sure. They weren't just making them up. I was giving away a tactical advantage to hopefully save my backside. And Dan said, what effect will this have? And Kai said, I don't know, try it and you'll find out.
Right, yeah.
I'm not going to tell you. Do you know if you've taken it before? No, right. You just have to. So anyway, he did end up nicking two off me. He actually took them and then battered me anyway. But
which is also dorky way. So there you go.
Yeah. So, but it wasn't. He saved them to the last game. Took a lot of them. Absolutely, just huge arcane bolt, and blew himself up. But that was great. I mean, I think but you don't know unless you do it, and I think that's right. Where you have to give up a lot of control and a lot of to just be part of the story. So and I'm sure everybody had their own tales, their own ups and downs, good games, good bad games, but not good games as in a bad game, but just as in this is the plan, but this isn't a fair thing. I had one game where literally everybody in my side, because I went more and more whenever I could. And this one game, everybody just blew up or used a warp spark and took D6 mortals and killed that warlock. And
sure,
but that's what you play the game for, It's roll the dice.
So I want to answer a question that just came up in the chat because I think it's really, really important to what we've been discussing. So the question came up of where can I join something like this? So first off, I would say I know there are multiple NEO, so the narrative event organizers. There are multiple NEO events in both the UK and the US every year. Recently, there was sort of the Coalescence event, and there's the Rise of Empires just been described, as well as a host of others. But what I would direct you to, and then there was the secondary question was resources for making your own narrative events. And I believe it's We Are the Neon, right? Is the website?
Yeah, yep. Correct. Yeah.
I'll post the link down below for We Are the Neon. But that is the narrative event organizer page, and it has a ton of resources and ideas and all sorts of stuff for you. So if you're interested in this type of game, that's definitely the place to visit. So highly, highly recommend. I will make sure to get that in there. We
Yeah.
are the neon.
And I think for me, there's going to be more of these. I think, I think to play it at this level, at that scale, with that many players was, very ambitious. I think it definitely paid off. I think I think because it broke some new ground, I'm not sure everybody was up or expecting to be quite so role play.
Right.
I am a role player, have been for, I don't know, 30 years now. So from a bit more, but I think for me, the ability to, just being around Archeon and being a bit cringy and, I'm sure I can help you, just not doing all the voices, but just, I think, I'm not sure if everyone understood that was an option or available.
Right.
And I think the other thing is sometimes, people can come to these things and think, or don't want to come to these things. So they think, I haven't got a big background. I haven't written a story or done the video of a background. And I think ultimately your story starts game one. And by the time you get to the last game, you will have found your feet with your army, and you will have this one unit that never dies, or you'll have this one character that always blows himself up. And that's your narrative. You create it on the go. And I think I definitely don't want to be an elite thing. I think it's open for everybody. And I think ultimately, there were still better plans if you weren't comfortable with freestyling it. There was a plan there, which meant you start here, this many inches away, pick an objective. That's what you're looking to do in this part of the game. Well, you're trying to break into the city. You're trying to defend it. There was, it was there as well. So, sorry, go on.
No, you're fine. I was just gonna say, as we're getting down to sort of the end here, what I wanted to spend kind of some time here at the end talking about is stuff you would like to try, you would like to see, some of the crazy ideas you've had. Given this event that you came from, what are some of the things you're hoping? Like, there's been little things you've thrown out that I think I want people to really recognize. Like, not only the incredible tables and the scenery and all that, which obviously can be, that's amazing. Shout out to the organizers who put all that together. That can be tough for newer people. But a very simple one that you threw out there that I think, I'm not sure if people caught, was stuff like the alliance-based WhatsApp groups you had beforehand, right? That you were spying in, like pre-tournament, pre-campaign, whatever you want to say, alliance chats where the people who were in those groups were chatting about what they're going to do. That's free, right? There wasn't anything to that. That's zero cost to that. Takes nothing else, but it immediately everybody's in character, plotting, planning together. It lets you have that spying angle. That's amazing. So just there's lots of little stuff like that. But what other things are sort of like in your mind of stuff you would like to see or to try or to have happen or to experience, etc. As we go forward, continue to build, as the Neos continue to build this out.
I think you could easily go, oh, let's try and make it all interconnected. But I think that for me, in a way, there are other characters and there are other mechanisms in place. I think actually when you take it down to, we all existed in a city just for that weekend. And by forcing that stuff together, that's where you get the interactions, and then that's where you get, the story spinning out. So I think the place, if there was a place where you could kind of have your story for all to see, and that I don't think you want to be invited along because you fit the story, but just to inspire people to be able to do it. I suppose for me, I think if something I'd like to try and run, probably just as some friends around, but some idea that the whole weekend is the game, and if someone attacks at 2 o'clock in the morning, then you got to go and fight because you got to go and defend.
Well, you mentioned like the shared thing, right? And so the problem with the big shared universe is that when it gets like on the rails, it then can force everybody into something that's not as cool. But again, I'm going to go back to the role-playing roots. One of the things we've done in our role-playing games is have loosely shared universes where we look at the outcome of a previous game and we integrate some of those elements into another story, another part of the world. We don't, you know what I mean? We're not worried about the direct connections. It's not like we have to be in the same city, have the same characters, have the same stuff. Yeah. We just use some like knock-on elements to make it feel like it's all part of the same big world or experience or whatever you want to say, right?
Yeah.
And I think I think what you're talking about there with like the sharing of the narrative afterward, so other people can pick up and go with this and then share back to it, and everybody can just pick and choose what they want, right? So it's not like a forced thing where people have to be like, oh, we're creating canon, right? Where like
Yeah,
this
yeah.
is definitely what happened on this day in this city, this thing blew up. No, that's boring. What's interesting is here's a sandbox of a bunch of crazy ideas. Play with them, right? Of this big tapestry of stories. And who cares if some of them conflict? That doesn't matter, because how do you know you're getting the real story, right? It's a crazy world. Like sometimes things conflict. So whatever, just pick the stuff that you think is cool. I think that's an awesome idea.
And I think, that whole idea that, there is no internet in the Age of Sigmar, there is no newspapers. So the story gets told and retold and retold and retold. So by the time it actually gets to, 2 realms on, you are the person that saved the city, or you are the person
right
that has all of the gold, not just the 50 pieces that I picked up, 50,000 pieces, and suddenly everyone's after me now because I've got 50,000 pieces of gold. It's
right.
It's like Payback movie, isn't it, where he has to try and get his $50,000 back, and everyone can't believe he's going through all the trouble he is to get his $50,000 back. And I think for me that's where it can be. I think the other thing as well is I'd like it to be that very much mixed armies are a fallout of those type of games, and
Sure.
that and let's break alliances if it makes sense, because some mercenary ogres have joined Scryer for whatever, because of a game I played next to them, and they were in trouble, and they paid me some gold, and now for some reason they think they're betrothed to me, and they have to, or they owe me a life. So I get these 5 ogres in my army, and then you go, okay, well, that's a painting opportunity, a hobby opportunity. I can't play it everywhere, but because it's come from the story, and it's not because it gives everyone +1 to wound.
Right. No, I mean, look, absolutely. One of my most fun experiences was, and this is a slightly different setting, but maybe a way for people who are more used to match play to feel comfortable with it at the same time, like in a way to ease in, was in the team tournament that Tom and I went to at the end of last year. I was playing my Iron Jaws and he was playing as Squadron Overlords, right? And we were a team. We were one army working together. Like that's, destruction in order. But we had a whole big backstory behind it of like pulling on the Dogs of War and being a new incarnation of that. And we were mercenaries. And, I was like acting as sort of the brute squad for his KO because their ships would take me around so I could get in scraps better and easier. Like it was, and we had our whole little intertwined story, and it was very fun. And so that kind of thing, not feeling like we've got to be within those set rails, right? Because clearly in the world, like even in the very story we're given in the world, there are various points in times where the alliances are not like this rigid thing. So, no, I totally agree.
I mean, a quick ship story. So Ben was there. He hired Cadron Overlords to move his Spider Fang Grots per exchange. However, he didn't realize that they laid eggs on board the ship. And then for the next 4 turns, little spiders were dropping out and attacking the ship, thinking they were going to eat it. So again, it was nothing in the rules. It was literally Kai came along and said, "Yeah, by the way, it's laid eggs. They keep dropping spiders out, and they will attack." And then you think, yeah, that's totally logical in that fantasy environment. And I
Absolutely.
think for me, that's so. I think for me, to be able to see mixed armies that are absolutely outcomes of narrative or outcomes of a story that you're bringing to life, and no one, as long as there's no shenanigans over rules that are just trying to, capture the one re-rolls and all those sort of nonsense, then no one's going to mind. And I think, and I think the other thing as well is what I'd like to see is the ability for people to come to a table with 2 bits of story and some scenery and actually probably find their own battle plan out of what's going on. And we've got loads of them.
Right.
We've got some basics, objectives, things drop out of the sky, come out of the ground. We've got some raw material there to use, but let's bring our 2 stuff together and just say, look, you're going to do this, I'm going to do that. Well, I'm not letting you do this. So this is all going to kick off, right? But actually, it was going to kick off after a conversation we're going to have. Okay, so we'll have our 2 dudes at the front, and they're going to have this conversation. It's all going to kick off, and then we'll fight. Yeah, right, that's good. Let's do it. So I think for me, but that does take a mindset of, I want to tell a story here.
Right.
And that's one way to play the game. Or I want to have a competitive game using these playing pieces and all the story and background behind it. And that's the other end. And the beauty of this game is you can play them either one and everything in between.
Right. Yeah, I think that's real. That's a real important good note to end on. It's not as though we're sitting here proselytizing that somebody on the doing the opposite thing is bad or playing the game badly. In the same way we talked about with the hobby, it is a spectrum of like everything in between here, right? And I hope people do try stuff and experiment with this, especially TOs, that they try along that spectrum in interesting ways. Experiment more. This is a big open game world with a lot, and these rules are so adaptable to all of these different things. I want to see this continue to evolve, and watching all these narrative events, everything around Coalescence and everything else is amazing. And I hope it just continues to build.
Yeah. And just on the Coalescence note, there's one in June.
Yep.
So again, if you're looking for one near you, then obviously check out the website. Or if you're looking for help in running one, and I think the other thing is, well, we've got a bit of an audience here. To be a Neo could be you're just organizing it with your mate, and it's the 2 of you, and you're playing it. You're still organizing it, and that's great. And I think that's all we're trying to do is inspire people to play the game in a slightly different way. They'll explore it and see if it's for them. And I think yeah. So June's good. There will be more. There are other ones. I think there's Warhammer Achievements are going to be this year again, and that's again another flavor, another way of playing things that get you to look to find goals. There's a tick list of goals to get. Fail a 3-inch charge. That's a goal you look for. Achieve a 12-inch charge. Well, I'm not going to move up. I'm going to stay here because I want to achieve that goal. So there's lots of ways of achieving that. And obviously we've got Raw that me and the other guys run. And again, that will have another different flavor. So cherry pick the bits that you like across all these different systems, about all these different ways of playing, and find the one that works for you.
I don't think I could give a better summation for the end of the episode. That is exactly the right sentiment I want to leave people with. So, Steve, thank you very much, sir. Absolute pleasure having you on again, as always.
Thank you.
As I said, I'll post the links down below, so go check that stuff out. Whether you're dipping your toe or diving in completely head first, there's lots of good stuff there. To all of you who watched, appreciate it, as always. Steve, we'll have you back again. You're always welcome here. And as always, we'll see you next Wednesday.